Good
Good
morning,
morning,
everybody.
Good morning.
I don't know about you all, but I'm looking outside at a beautiful purpley, pink, orange sky. It, it was amazing. It's starting to fit. Well, now it's starting to come back up. It was absolutely beautiful earlier. So, anyway, another beautiful day. Um, and I am delighted that it's going to be beautiful. I get to spend the day with cousins from Idaho. Haven't seen them for like 6 years, so I'm very excited to be able to spend some time with them. My cousin and her husband have been, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say missionaries in Africa for many, many years. So I'm excited for the stories that they have to share and all of their experiences. And so exciting stuff. Um, Yesterday at church, we celebrated a very, very special lady, Donna's Hereford. Donna's came to First Church 30 years ago this month. Um, and the training and the experience that she had enabled her to come and serve in the life of our congregation. And who would have thought 30 years ago that we would still be blessed to have her as part of us, making a difference. In the beginning, Donnis was responsible for the hospital and the housebound or homebound visits. She led a very, very successful Stephen Ministries group, and she trained others in that. My sister-in-law, Claretta Mayhew, was one of those that were in the Stephen Ministry group, and they helped so many church members and friends. It didn't have to be just church related. She also supported the Minute Ministry, which was you could call in to church and get a recording that was words of encouragement. So that was very, very important as well. She led the Knitwits, which was a very fun ministry that got a lot of ladies together, and they knitted prayer shawls and hats and scarves. And we actually have some now that are starting to do that again so that we can provide that. Donna said the welcome that she got when she came to us was heartwarming and unforgettable. She was eager to become acquainted with each of us and share in the ministry of our church, which she has done so very well and continues to do. She's been a blessing to us from day one that she walked through our door. And even yesterday on the elevator with her, she always has a smile, encouraging words for everybody. She's left many memories and many stamps on our heart of this is what being a lay servant looks like. She loves frogs. It was funny. Somebody reminded me yesterday. Well, remember she even had frogs out in the narthex? There were frogs everywhere. Frogs everywhere. She did many children's sermons. And I think that's probably what Cheryl Morrison was remembering with Katie when she was very little. So we all know that FROG, F-R-O-G, stands for Fully Rely on God. And Donna's is the perfect example of fully relying on God. And we just want to say thank you to Donna's for the ministry that you have given to us at First United Methodist Church, and for the many hours and many days that you have shared yourself with each one of us. Donna's is truly a blessing to First Church. then and now. We can't say enough to thank her.
She's an example of what repeated behavior becomes habit. And she doesn't know how to be anything else.
That's right. And what a wonderful thing to be. And what wonderful habits to have.
Yes.
Yeah. That,
I think all of us wish for that. And don't always achieve it.
we might achieve little bits and pieces of it, but Donna's is the whole package. She truly is the whole package. Good morning, Scott. We're glad you're with us. So yesterday we also talked, Pastor Lydia shared with us about the quick and cheap car wash. I felt a little claustrophobic myself while she was talking about that, being trapped inside of a car wash. Because unlike some, that car wash trapped you front and back. The gates came down and you couldn't get out unless the gates were open. And eventually her focus was on God and how do we solve the problem of where we are? Do we look at things like Jesus looks at them? Do we notice those things? Oh, I have my phone. I have a receipt. God gives us those little things to help us. He doesn't just put them in our face, though. We have to figure things out.
And that's why he closed the doors. He closed the doors so you stop. You have no choice.
And that's a good thing.
Sometimes we feel stuck in our lives. And if we just stop and take another look around.
The doors are shut before us and behind us, but it's not a gate that we can't open. But sometimes God keeps us in a certain place in our life or in a relationship, in a job, or he just keeps us where we are so that he can teach us some lessons and fully rely on him.
It's a humbling experience.
It is very, very humbling. When you feel like you're not in control, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. What do I do? What do I do? First thing we do is pray.
Sometimes when we get backed in the corner, we have to pray our way out or connect with God on some level. Some people meditate. Some people call it praying. But we all are stopped until we find the key.
Yes. And there's so many ways to worship. There's so many ways to meditate. I love corporate worship, being in the sanctuary with many others. But I also like just sitting on the porch and looking at the sky and the trees and the landscape. I especially love to sit in Colorado and look at that landscape, or my favorite spot in South Dakota.
We all have favorite spots that call to us.
Yes, we do. I would like to share We talked a little bit about Bartimaeus yesterday, and that he was blind, but his faith helped him to regain his vision. The scriptures from Mark 10:46-52. Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called to the blind man, "Cheer up, on your feet, he's calling you." Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked him. The blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." Jesus said, "Go, your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Bartimaeus put himself out there. He was already being ridiculed for sitting there begging, and then the fact that he wanted to be in front of Jesus, and he wanted Jesus to heal him. This little man.
I think that sometimes we don't think we're worthy of miracles. And I think we're afraid to ask for fear of being denied. Bartimaeus had an amazing faith.
I think you're right, Debbie, where we are afraid to ask. And sometimes if we have our eyes open like Jesus, and we see what Jesus sees, or we hear the things that Jesus heard or hears, it makes a difference in how we respond to people. We have been doing the community breakfast at church for, I think we figured yesterday, it must be 15 years. It started out that we were only serving in the parking lot at the very beginning, and then it got too cold, and so that was when my daughter and son-in-law were there as youth pastors, and they finally got permission to bring the breakfast inside into the fellowship hall so that we could truly serve our guests. Not just the food, but they had a warm place. They had hot coffee. They had the opportunity to sit and visit. Fellowship. And share their struggles.
And that's more important in sometimes than the food.
The fellowship. Mm-hmm. We all need that. That I think that's why being in the worship service in the sanctuary is so important for me. And if you just kind of sit back and observe and soak it all in, it's a different experience than if we are overly involved. We're afraid to ask them. Yes. I don't want to ask because God may not give me the answer that I want to hear.
Sometimes the answer is no.
And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes he makes us wait. And
Sometimes it's different. It's an answer, but it wasn't what we were expecting.
No. It's kind of like, okay, God, this is what I need, and this is a multiple choice. This is the best answer. This is the next, and but don't choose the last one because I don't want to wait. I don't want you to say no. God doesn't work on multiple choice.
Well, he does, but it's not your choice necessarily.
That is true. That is very true. So at our meeting yesterday, we talked a lot about serving the houseless in our community, as well as our neighbors at the Palmer House. That it's so important, the fellowship piece of that. We provide the food, we provide the coffee, we provide the space, we provide clothes and blankets and toiletries. But we provide that sense of worth to them while they are with us. And that's we've had two huge success stories just in the last year from the community breakfast. And we want to get them more involved. We want the two guys to be able to take some ownership so that they truly feel that this is theirs as well as it is ours. Because if they have ownership, they truly are embedded in the whole program. And if you're part of it, not an outsider, or you feel like you're an outsider, it's so much more meaningful, the fellowship and the soul nourishment, so important for them, for all of us.
Everyone needs to be able to give back. To be on the receiving end only minimizes you, because you have nothing to offer, or that you feel you have nothing to offer.
And we all have something to offer. We all have, I don't care who we are, where we live, where we went to school, who our ancestors were. We all have something to share with each other. We all have something to teach each other, because our experiences are so different, and our lives are so put together differently. I mean, the experiences that you had coming from California and living in California, a lot of them are the same. Yes. My experiences growing up in Western Kansas, we've had some of the same experiences, but they help shape who we are, and sharing our experiences and sharing our life stories with friends helps us as much as it helps them.
I noticed that particularly in Sunday school, everyone at the table is a Methodist. We're in the same church, but we come from far back, other experiences, and so we bring that with us, and we expect things to be the same as we always have had, and it doesn't always work that way. It's very interesting to hear everybody's perspective about community worship.
It is.
Yesterday was quite the discussion.
It's like, what does that feel like to you? What does that look like to you? Is it strict and rigid, or is it casual and more movement, more flow in the service?
Structure versus no structure.
Right, and there has to be some structure.
I
I
agree.
agree with that part.
But then you and I might be more similar than someone who came from a more freer style of worship.
Or someone who came from a very, very large church. I know at the porch party, which was absolutely a fabulous event that we had on Saturday, that we shared with First Christian and First Presbyterian churches, with events in our parking lot, and it was a huge success for us. We had one young mother that came to our table. She said, I'm looking for a new church. I'm looking for a place for my family to attend. And the more we talked, she said, I really feel like this is the good place for me. So I am so hoping to see her next Sunday. She had family obligations yesterday. But to share the love with people that come to events like that is priceless.
We share the love, but sometimes our expectations and their expectations are different, but we learn from each other.
We learn from each other, and we have to really stop and listen, as well as see who's in our midst. Are we really paying attention to their needs, or are we just doing a quick overview of the surface and, oh, well, we'll never see them again, so it doesn't matter? Yes, it does matter. Yes, it does matter. And again, are we truly looking with the eyes of Jesus? I like to think that I do most of the time. It's hard.
Yes, it is. Because we were talking about worship yesterday in Sunday school. And talking about time and attention span and things that could be different. And one of the things is, someone pointed out, they thought that we didn't need the meet and greet portion in the service. And it was hard for me to hear that. I don't know about you, Sue.
I like the meet and greet. The timing may need to be shifted. I don't know. We talked about that also a little bit before church started, before worship started. The possibility of having meet and greet the time before the service starts, so that we can have more time to actually spend with those that we don't recognize, or we recognize them as, I don't recognize you, I don't know who you are, so I want to get over to that person or that family and talk to them. So I don't know. There's pros and cons both directions.
It gets a little out of hand during the service because people come just in time for the service, and then they have plans right after the service.
Right.
So then that meet and greet doesn't happen. and then people wonder why they don't stay or they don't come back.
We have to be, we have to have hospitality. We have to be right there. And that's the same way in our lives, not just at church. If we want people to participate, if we want them to take some ownership and feel like they belong, then we have to be welcoming. We have to get to them and make them know that we are glad to see them. We are glad for their participation. Do we offer them, like Pastor Lydia said about the quick and cheap car wash? Do we offer them a quick and cheap experience when they come to us? Or on the other side of that, do we offer them a good and effective experience that could turn their life around? You know,
or do we include them in other activities?
I am so glad that we have those cards that were made with the events for November and December that we can hand out to people, and it's so easy for them to just take that as a reminder. Oh, those people invited me to come. And that was the way with the young mother. She was excited about our December the 7th event with the children, because she has two 6-year-old twins.
But you were able to have that one-on-one experience with her to make a personal offer or invitation. And that's what it takes. Sometimes we don't always achieve that. Here's a piece of paper. See you next Sunday.
Right. Or thanks for stopping by our table. Glad you got a water and some chips. That wasn't why we were there. You know, if we truly don't see and hear people, we cannot make a difference in their lives. We can't share the love of God with them. We have to meet them where they are, not where we want them to be. Because that's two totally different places. We want them to be just like us. We want them to be a member. We want them to participate. We want them to serve on committees. Come and do this. Come and do that with us. Not always going to happen.
Not only that, sometimes we become critical of everyone. And I don't think we realize how off-putting that can be.
It is. Yeah, why didn't you do that? Like this, because that's how I would have done it.
Or we've always done it that way.
We've always done it that way. Well, not anymore. We got fun, exciting opportunities for so many people to be involved at First Church. So we will just keep sharing all of that with those that we meet and keep inviting them. And our time is almost up. I want to share some closing thoughts. It's the words from the song that we sang yesterday. And this is not part of that, but our eyes should be open outwardly for what we see around us and inwardly so that we take care of ourselves. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of our neighbors. Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hand the wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. And we didn't sing these two verses. Open my ears that I may hear voices of truth thou sendest clear. And while the wave note falls on my ear, everything false will disappear. Everything false will disappear. Open my mouth and let it bear gladly the warm truth everywhere. Open my heart and let me prepare love with thy children thus to share. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. That's my prayer for all of you this week, that our eyes are opened with glimpses of truth.
Not our truth.
Not our truth. Thank you, Debbie. Not our truth. God's truth that we can share. And we will see you next week. Have a beautiful, beautiful Monday. The sun you can see is shining on my face now. Going to be a beautiful day and a beautiful week. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye, everyone.